Welcome to the A.L.L podcast.
We're the Academy of Logic and Light. I'm Meagan.
I'm Kat.
I'm Julie. We are an ethical community education platform that provides a safe space for people to practice their spirituality without indoctrination.
Welcome, everyone, back to the A.L.L podcast. I'm Meagan, and I'm here with Julie and, other way, Kat. We also have Charlynn with us, and we're so excited to have you join us and, jump on to be one of our guests on our podcast and all of the fun things.
Out-of-state podcast.
Awesome. Well, we're so glad to have you. Charlynn, can you tell us a little bit about, yourself, kind of your background and what it is that you're doing, how you're kind of involved in our magical community?
Well, it's great to be here. And where do I begin? I guess I've kind of always known I've been an empath and claircognizant. I've kind of always known when things were going to happen before they happened. Was always very nurturing, very empathetic towards people, animals. Sometimes I would feel like I would have other people's energy. I would be in a good mood, and then all of a sudden I would be in a bad mood and I wouldn't know why. And then I ended up starting to get guided to different kinds of stones. So I would start researching stones. And then I caught myself being really interested in herbs. And then started interested in being with cards. So I started reading for myself. And then that stopped a little bit because, life got busy and whatever. I've been a nurse for over 15 years. So I've had, and then I should actually start, in childhood, I can remember making potions in my backyard, gathering all these different kinds of herbs and anything I could find, making potions, dancing in the rain, looking up at the moon and the stars, just really loved rocks. I was always looking at the rocks, gathering rocks. I had a rock collection when I was growing up. But yeah, so it stopped for a little while. And then, I don't know, one day I had a snap. I just snapped. I had more than one person could handle in a lifetime. I had, by the time I was 40, mainly 30. I lost both my parents at an early age. I was 9 months pregnant when my father passed away, and then my mom passed away 5 years later. So that was hard. But what's funny, well, not funny, but ironic, I guess, is a good word to say, is my dad passed away June 2nd, 2009. My mom passed away June 4th, 2014. My son was born June 24th of 2009.
Yeah.
So they're with them, they're with him. And I don't know, I just, between that and then I had a lot of financial struggles, had a divorce, had a lot of financial struggles, got through all those, somehow made it through having cancer. My 40th birthday, I was diagnosed with ovarian and cervical cancer. Got past that and throughout this, but I was seeing signs and synchronicities. I kept seeing 222 and 333, and, I would be guided to different things, or, I would see a deer and I kept hearing in my head, research the spiritual meaning of a deer, and I was just really, really drawn to it, or certain things I was really drawn to. And that's how I started opening up, is the more I saw the signs, the more I started opening up. And started realizing, then they were guiding me to, focus on me being an empath and learning about me being an empath and how I'm a starseed. That's a whole nother section. But then it was probably about 5 years ago, maybe 6. My dad came to me, and because I was channeling, I was doing card readings, and I used my messages from heaven. And all of a sudden I felt this weight on me, and I started bawling my eyes out like he had just died, like just bawling hysterically, could not stop. And I heard his voice, and I'm a second emotional. He started talking to me and telling me about our family legacy and how we're all mediums, and you know, we all have this psychic ability, and how strong I am, and you know how proud he is of me that I broke the generational curse. And because, you know, the rest of our family, you know, didn't want to he said hear it, trying to make a joke. So it was me that, you know, I realized it took my dad to pass away in order for me to come into my gifts. And as much as it saddens me, I'm grateful for him for that too. And I know I'm jumping everywhere, and I apologize, but I don't know.
No, you're good. That's great. So, you put that you're the owner of Evolving Energy. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is and kind of, you know, how it works in your day-to-day life and what you do with it?
Yeah. Well, not only am I a psychic medium, I'm an empath, I'm also a natural born healer. And I'm also a Reiki master. So I focus a lot, like people just being in my presence or around me is comforting and is cleansing for them as an energy healer, as a natural energy healer. And so as I started growing into my gifts and learning more about myself, and Spirit guided me to different shows and movies and books and websites, I brought that all in now to help other people. I do soul readings. So that's my gift, is I mainly do soul readings, is not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear to be the best version of you, what blocks you have. You know, because sometimes you don't even realize that we have blocks that are blocking us from our best and highest timeline, because we think we really got rid of it, but we didn't, because it's still buried deep down inside. And my job with my readings in Spirit is to get you to realize what blocks and what obstacles you have in order to become the best version of yourself, and maybe what gifts you have along the way, because everybody has gifts. You're just, when you're ready to tap into them, I do what gifts you have, how you tap into your gifts, all these in a soul reading. You know, hope, closure, just relief. And then I do energy cleansing, which is everything that you have on a daily basis, and all your traumas, those all end up leading to aches and pains sometimes, because all the chakras work on every part of the system. So say if you're not very comfortable, and you know you're not feeling safe, and you're in you're financially insecure, you're insecure about something, you know, you might have lower back pain, you know, and energy cleansing helps not only relieve that back pain, but also helps relieve what it is that's making you have that back pain, to help you bring it to the surface in order to release it. Whereas Reiki, when I do Reiki, it's just pretty much like it's getting the ailment. You know what I mean? Where energy cleansing is more in depth, and then you have the healing, where it's actually going into even past lives. So it's not only just this life; it's past lives. Because yes, it's true. Like, not only does things in this life, you know, affect you, but also past lives affect you as well. That's why they call it, you know, the generational curse, and whether we break them or not.
I had to do a past life meditation today for my moon Aiki, right? And it was not as fun as one would hope.
Yeah, like I've seen myself burned at the stake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh damn. And now I'm like proud just to call myself a witch. Why? I am. I'm a practicing witch, and I'm proud of it. Why? Because I heal people. you know, with whether it's crystals that I use, whether it's herbs, whether it's energy healing, whether it's working with candles and doing, you know, some candle rituals or aromatherapy, work, you know, the colors that we use, you know, the scents that we use, the herbs that we use, all that I use for the better and to be more, you know, holistic. But sometimes people say witch as this is a bad thing.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
That's what I have to say.
yeah, people that think that way or believe that way, they're very clearly indoctrined into that belief, and then it just gets highlighted by, like movies. Oh, the Wicked Witch. The witch is always the bad guy, and like all the things. But in reality, the original medicine people, the original healers, were witches.
Yeah.
You know?
Witches, shamans, anyone that was not even just witches, shamans, Indian, anyone that was grounded to the earth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, they didn't have pharmacies way back in the day. How else did they heal?
Right.
You know, you use aloe vera on your skin when you have a sunburn.
Yeah.
Everybody does that. So is everybody a witch? You know what I
I
mean?
think so.
That's one of my favorite things to point out is if anyone ever is like, oh, you do these things, I'm like, well, there's a little bit of witch and all. Oh, not in me. You've never blown out candles over a birthday cake? That's candle.
I made a wish. Or how about when you cook? When you cook and you're making a meal, you're using pepper, guess what? You're grounding and you're protecting. You're using salt and sea salt or Himalayan salt, guess what? You're cleansing. You don't even realize it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You use cinnamon, guess what? You're cleansing your arteries, you know, you're putting in for that manifestation and that abundance. Because cinnamon's all about abundance. People don't even realize it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say like magic is anything that's done with intention. So like everyday activities can be magical. You just have to put your intention into it. It is magical, and then it is.
Exactly. Exactly. I completely agree. And that's why when, you know, some people, not everybody, like some people say, you know, oh, witch. Okay, well, just like humans, there's good people and there's bad people. There's good witches and there's bad witches. You know, it's all about intention and how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And that could be with anything. It doesn't even have to be, you know, with candles or anything. It could be just saying anything out loud. Because what we say, what we think, and what we feel all end up going into our surroundings. So,
Totally.
Yeah.
I want to ask you more about being a medium. Did you know from very early on that you were a medium, or how did I just need to know everything as I'm interested in mediumship?
yeah, no, my dad, when my dad passed away, it's funny because a couple of years prior to that, I never realized that, like, I would hear songs in my head and they would keep playing over and over and over again. And then I wouldn't think anything of it. And then once I started getting guided to more things like crystals and stuff like that, I started hearing voices of spirit guides. But then when my dad came through, you know, that's when my dad's like, no, you know, you have the medium side too. So I'm a psychic and a medium because, you know, all psychics are mediums, but not all mediums are psychics. So, but yeah, my dad's the one who brought me through. So that was probably about 5-6 years ago. So,
And what have you done to kind of like cultivate that, like
just
like exercise wise?
Just practicing trust that you what you are receiving is truth, you know, and just asking questions, writing it down, doing auto journal, you know, automatic writing, and I've done pendulum work, you know, to talk with spirit, you know, before I could hear them, and then I would just, that's just how I practice. And then to get out of my comfort zone, it's It's when I actually start going to people up in like grocery stores and my delivery driver that, you know, delivered my bed. But, you know, but as long as I get the word out there, I guess, whatever. I just don't like when spirit plays with me and I'm asking people and they said, no, no, no. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to table it for now. And then I see that same person a week later and then said, you know, when I saw you and you remember when you said that? And I said, yeah. I said, oh, they said, now I know what you're talking about. So I said, all right.
Oh,
So
wow.
spirit needs to be a little bit more. Sometimes they can be very vague. And then sometimes like they need to give me a little bit more.
Totally.
I've had that experience as well.
Yep. But whether you're talking to spirit guides or whether you're talking to past loved ones, you know, past loved ones, like sometimes you hear their voice, sometimes like it just comes through in my voice. That was the hardest thing for me, I think, to decipher is it me thinking this or is it really something? You know, is it really someone? Like that was the hardest thing. So like my spirit team, because I'm more psychic than I am medium, like my mediumship, like I talk more with spirit guides and archangels and to get, you know, the soul readings and everything. And when people need healing or closure or hope from a past loved one, that's when they come through. So it's more like a secondary than a first. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Can I ask you this question? When you get like a message that is kind of like out of nowhere, like at the grocery store or with your delivery person, how do you handle that? Like, do you just trust that the person is able to receive that message, or because it's coming through, you give that message to them regardless?
No, I always ask them first because sometimes spirit is hesitant, and I think that's why sometimes because if they're not ready to hear it, and sometimes I have a message for someone that actually isn't that person, but it's for someone that person knows.
Mm.
So like I'll always ask them, like, you know, do you know of someone? And I ask them, like, you know, if they're passed away, and you know, when they say yes, because sometimes I'll get names, sometimes I'll feel how they passed, and I'll ask them about that. And then I said, all right, well, and I let them know that I'm a psychic medium, and then I'll have spirit give me some kind of like, all right, you need to give me something more to go on now. Like now that they know that I'm talking with you, give me something else. So they'll either show me symbols, or they'll give me a date, you know, or they'll, like I said, like I'll feel how they passed away.
Mm.
And it's all about trust. It really, really is.
I don't know if you guys have any more questions about like psychic stuff. I kind of want to go back to the idea of, I love that you worked as a nurse for so long and like then you kind of transitioned into this healing. Did you kind of feel that healing calling while you were working as a nurse, or do you think that's kind of why you ended up in that position? Or I guess which came first? Like how do they tie together at all for you, or is it kind of separate?
No, I believe it all ties into me because everything happens for a reason, whether it's good or bad. And you know, I believe it helped me a great deal on my journey, whether I realize it or not, helping people, even just being around me, being an empath, being able to pick up on them, you know, and how they're feeling and what their pain is. You know, a good nurse cries when your patient cries and laughs when your patient laughs. You know, and I got to feel a lot of different energies, which has helped me on my journey. And I think I did a great deal of good with trying to bridge the Eastern and Western medicine together. Because I have a lot of, you know, friends that are nurse practitioners too. you know, and you see more and more hospitals working with energy healing.
I have a friend who is a PT here, and they were sponsored by their work to like go get Reiki certified. So I do appreciate that it's starting to like work more into the system of like, there is a value to the individual that is an important factor of medicine that's been left out for a while.
Absolutely, because I look back at myself and, you know, like, I don't even hurt an ant anymore. You know, and the way I see about healing, especially being in the medical field, what I can say is I'm really, really thankful that holistic medicine is starting to be on the rise.
Absolutely.
Totally. Yeah.
We need it.
I mean, it's not advantageous from a profit perspective, which the United States medical industry is a for-profit industry, to think of the body as a whole, to think of a person as a whole. I think that's why for so long it's like separated into like physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. All of those things are a whole person, but like we've been taught for so long that like you go to this doctor to do this thing, you go to this person to do this thing, to like keep ourselves separated. But so much of spirituality is becoming proven, things that people have known for a millennia, proven by science now. You know, like even the capacity that your brain has to self-heal is now starting to be proven by science. So to keep those things separated doesn't make sense. But it is interesting to see the integration in Western medicine, which is phenomenal. I think other places in the world have been doing it far better for far longer than we have, but we're getting there, and that's hopeful.
Yeah, it's because no one can see it. They want to see it. They want to see what they can't. You know, they want to pay for it. They want to be able to see it. It's like they don't want to just believe and trust.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a shame. You know, and I'm glad that things are starting to turn around. You know, and hope that, you know, there is more love and light in the world, and you know, we can, you know, have awareness and raise people spiritually and let people find their higher selves. You know, I love what I do. It gives me so much joy and satisfaction knowing that I'm helping people. I can't even begin to describe how it affects me, like how I love it. I can't express it enough. And when they come back to me and they tell me their stories, you know, and they're thanking me, I just like, don't thank me. I just guided you. You did all the work. You just needed to be shown. You know?
Do you do most of your work like in person, or do you do virtual sessions, or how does that work?
I do in person and I do virtual.
Cool.
So I can do it all over.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Very
And you're in Massachusetts, right?
Yes.
Yay.
The accent didn't get you. But
can you tell us where people can find you?
oh yeah, my website is evolvingaenergy.com, and you can find my info there. I also have a clothing line that I started because I wore one shirt with one metaphysical phrase when I was afraid to be who I was. You know, it's awkward and very frightening to be who you are when everyone else is so judgmental. And the more I wore it, the more confident I felt. So I decided to do a clothing line of positive affirmations and spiritual journey related sayings to help people be able to express who they are. Even if you're not able to say it, you can wear it. And then when people say, hey, I like your shirt, guess what? You just found someone to match your soul tribe. You know, so I like to do that too. So that's also on my website. I wanted to say something about that because that's also about like me. I'm trying to raise awareness for everybody, and that's another way that I do it.
I love that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And they're all infused with healing and positive energy.
Oh, I love it.
So when you're on your spiritual journey, you need that little bit of boost. There you go.
Yeah.
So nice. And I'm always looking for people when I'm like out and about, like crystals, like who's wearing what. And I'm like, okay,
Yep.
these are my people.
Bracelets.
Yeah.
Bracelets are one too. You're like, oh yeah, energy bracelet.
Just like casually mention something astrological and see if anyone bites.
Yeah.
Where are my weirdos at?
Right. I'm
Right
even more of a
here.
weirdo when I'm going up to someone and be like, excuse me, do you know someone who's passed away named so-and-so, or someone who has died like in a car accident? Like,
Oh
yeah.
my God.
Talk about being out of your comfort zone. I was at an event a couple weeks ago and I kept getting this feeling. And when energy comes near me, I'm always like I can't breathe. And then I start feeling what they went through. And then I start seeing like a little vision. And come to find out, it was the tent across from me, her ex-boyfriend. It was his best friend.
Oh, that's
Wow.
creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet
Wow.
that's just so alarming for some people, but I'm sure other people are so excited to hear messages.
Yeah. It's just,
I would
it's scary though. So like when you say like, you know, where's my other freaks at? And I'm like, my weirdos, and like, oh my God, if they're thinking I'm a freak and a weirdo. Because it's true. Like,
I think that's a compliment.
Yeah.
It's one of the hardest things to get out of your comfort zone and do that. Like really trust yourself and trust spirit and go up to a complete stranger and do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I had an incident like that at a festival actually too, and we were like waiting to get in line. They kept losing our tickets, so like they couldn't find it. So I just go and sit in the corner and meditate while my friends are like solving it. And I got this like strongest message to tell this security guard this thing, and I was like, oh, I'm not doing that. I'm not talking to that one. I don't talk to strangers. And then the message was like, you have to go tell him this message. It was so clear, and I'm like, oh no. And then by the third time, they were like, if you don't tell him this message, we're not giving you any more messages. You're not being a good messenger. And I was like, and then I went up and told him the message. And he was like, you're the second person today to tell me that. So they had really been trying to get that message through. I was like, fine. I was stomping my feet. I was like, this is really weird, but I have to do this. I'm sorry. He was like, that's crazy.
Yeah, so much for free will.
I know.
It's like you're grounded. If you don't give this message, you're grounded.
I felt like a punished child for sure.
Yeah.
But I did it.
Yay.
But isn't it scary?
That
But it's
was
so
rewarding.
rewarding once you do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he like came and looked for me like the rest of the festival. He was like, hey, how are you doing? And I was like, oh, so that's the only message I got for you, Meagan. That was it. It was isolated.
Yeah.
You're like, have you been drinking water like I told you to?
How long have you been doing your business for?
Probably about a year, I would
Okay.
say. About a year.
And the clothing line around the same?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Nice.
So I finally decided, you know, I always had the downloads to do it. I just, you know, had to get out of my comfort zone, so that's why it took me a while. But here I am.
Nice.
I know that. I've got a good one. Well, I don't know. You can tell us. So, Kat and I are both also moms. And how do you feel like raising kids in kind of this spiritual space? Like, do you have any advice, or like, any thoughts on ways that it's kind of helped you, or you've been able to?
Oh,
I don't know.
oh yeah. Absolutely. I'm completely different with my son than my parents were with me. My son is actually clairvoyant, and he's an empath as well. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree. But I'm very open and honest with him, and he talks to me about it, and he like he'll trust his intuition, and then he'll say, "Mom, this is what I got. Am I on it?" So I'll ask his spirit guides, and they'll say, "Yup," or they'll tell me, "We'll have him do this," and I actually have him embrace it.
Cool.
Because he should. That's the whole point of being your higher self, is to be your authentic self.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not being you with your gifts, you're not being authentic.
Mm-hmm. How old is your son, can I ask?
He's 14. He's going to be 15.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I have a 14-year-old and a 15-year-old, so right in that same area. And my son's the same. He's really pushed back the last couple of years. He has the ability to like see people that have passed, and he does not like it. Like it's scary for him, and he started that very, very young. Like he could would talk to people, and I'd be like, "Who are you talking to?" And he'd be like, "So and so," and then it would turn out that it was like somebody's cousin that had died at an early age or something. And as he got older, he kind of got afraid of that. He knows it's there. He knows it's going to be there, and that at some point he's going to have to deal with it. And he is really good about like, now he's gotten good at making sure that he's not bringing people home with him, because that used to be a thing that they knew that he could see them and like talk to them, and he would like just pretend like they're not there, ignoring, and he didn't have a strong ability to like, okay, I'm not ready to talk to you, so you have to wait outside. And I was constantly having to clear the house. I'd be like, "Bro, brought somebody home again, and now nobody can sleep, and everything's in chaos because you don't want to talk to them, but they're waiting to talk to you," and like all these kind of funny things. So I like what you just said about that you're not, if you're not being authentic, because I think that's really true. And he's just kind of struggling through it right now. And for myself anyway, as the person that I am, it is interesting to kind of work on your, whatever your clair is, and kind of strengthen those tools and those gifts that we have as a parent. Because I do think that I also parent very, very differently in the way that I allow my kids to do things, or sometimes I'll say no to something that's like seemingly innocuous, and they'll be like, "Well, why can't I go to this thing? Why can't I go?" And I'll be like, "I don't know why you can't, but you're not going to that thing," and it will come out later that like somebody was drinking or a fight broke out, or whatever it is that you just have the gut feeling. You're just like, it's just not happening today. That's just not. I don't have the answer to why always, but I know enough to trust that always. And you have to trust me as a parent to know that I will always have your best interest, even if I don't know right now the reason behind it. So I love that your son is really embracing it and developing those tools.
Yeah, and he wasn't ready at first. It was a little too much. So you can actually close his psychic door. Like, you can have him picture a door and he's shutting it, and he sits there and says, "My psychic door is shut. I will open it when I'm ready." So that way his door is shut. No spirits can come through. And you can also talk to spirit, like his spirit team, because a lot of times they don't realize from being on the other side that they don't realize that it could be scary, because they don't know what it's like to be human. like your spirit team, because your spirit team is like the one who's like, okay, you're opening up the door, so like it's like you have free will, and he doesn't know enough to stop, but he like your spirit can help protect him, but unless he says this is not what I want, they won't, you know what I mean? Like it has to be free will, even at any age. So like he can close his psychic door, and then anyone that has passed away that he's familiar with, he can have them bring into his mediumship skills, and when he's ready, and ask them to do it slow and steady, because a lot of times, even when people are starting to waking and they're not, seeing, but they're like empaths or they're clairaudient, and then they start seeing signs, and synchronicities everywhere, and then they get really overwhelmed. You just got to talk to spirit and be like, listen, you need to slow down. You need to tell them how you want it and when you want it. And just talk to them as if they're you and me having a conversation on what you want and what you don't want. It's that easy.
Yeah.
I love that.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's really good information, especially with this next generation coming in and how to support them too. And then I feel like they are going to have more gifts than we even can comprehend, so it's just so nice that they get to be born into parents who understand that. I was so jealous.
Yeah, because I'm seeing it more and more with my son's friends. Like they're all starting to awaken. I feel it. I feel it and I see it. So they are the generation that's and I guess I kind of felt that the whole time, like he was like an indigo child.
Yeah.
Child. Like he just, I knew it. He was talking to spirits when I think he was like 6 months old. He must have been seeing my father in the crib, because he was like up like this, looking at the ceiling, and then at 3 or 4 years old, he was constantly talking in his sleep, and I would ask him who he was talking to, and then he would tell me, and what he said he saw was my dad. Like the beard, the green eyes, the whole thing. Yep, that's granddad.
Well, and I think part of when you talk about generational curses, I think a big way and a big part of how we're healing them is not only by working through the issues that we feel and we experience, but also in trying not to perpetuate them, in finding ways that, when we are, raising kids, or when we're talking to new people or trying to create new connections, we're doing it from this space of acceptance and openness that I know that I didn't have when I was growing up. And so I think that level of healing is just healing a piece of humanity, if you're willing to approach things in that way.
Yeah, because it's like you have, one person where it's you're healing, you're doing what you're supposed to do. Then you have, another person that isn't doing what they're supposed to do. Say back when I was growing up, it would be kind of like you feared your parents almost, you know what I mean? You're not doing what you're supposed to do. You kind of fear your parents, the belt, the belt, the wooden spoon, whatever, you know what I mean? Now it's you don't want your kids to fear you. That's not love, You want to explain things to them. They're more aware and resilient and older than what they let us on to be. And a lot of the generation are old souls. So they are a lot smarter than us because they've been around a lot longer. And, you're trying to get that healing from love and not fear. That is one of the generational curses, and that is something that is amazing, because you shouldn't have to fear your parents. you know, to get something done. You should be able to talk to your children and explain to them, like, I don't like that you do this. This is why, and this could happen, but I'm going to leave it, you know, you let them make the decision, because that they know it's on them. You can guide them so much, but, you know, you got to let them make their own way, because how are they going to learn if they don't?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is interesting. I think there's definitely been a shift in the way that we parent as I don't know how old you are. I'm in my 40s. I'm 41 almost.
I'm 45.
Versus I think the way that we were parented, like it seems like previous generations looked at their children as their property. I made you, so you will do what I say. You're mine to control, and this is how it's going to be. I brought you into this world. I can take you out of it.
I heard that. I wish I had $1 for every text.
And we as parents are like, actually, no, you don't belong to me. You belong to yourself and wherever you came from in the ethers. I'm just blessed to have you for a short period of time. And I'm going to use that to the best of my ability to give you the knowledge that I have and hopefully set you on a good path to guide you to where you're supposed to be. And it's a very interesting thing that we have learned to parent that way, and probably because of the way we were parented, for sure, with that kind of, you're going to do what I say no matter what. And we're like, that didn't work for me. All that made me do was rebel and lie. Like that didn't teach me how to trust you as a parent, or it didn't make me love you more as a child. Like it didn't do any of the things that you thought it was going to do. So I'm certainly not going to parent in that same way. I mean, it is sad that like a whole generation of people had to go through that to get to a point where we can parent with grace and understanding and patience and kindness towards these little souls that are here with us. But I love it. I love to see so many people say that exact thing that you were saying. I think it's so important and says a lot about the way that how hopeful we are and the way that we want the future of this planet to be.
Yeah. And, you know, the more I went on my journey, the more I realized, like, you guys, I'm sure you guys realize too, that it's the more you go on the journey, the more you see how much you've changed, like how things shouldn't have been that way back then. Like they just shouldn't have, you know, and
all avoidable.
Yeah, you know, and I have such a close relationship with my son. Like, I didn't have that with my parents.
I know. I feel like for me, we're as a society also kind of making this shift to a point where we're appreciating that everybody has an individualism, that everybody thinks differently, that everybody learns differently. And I really like that, you know, it's definitely slower as society is doing it, but there is space for it. And there are people who are trying to make that difference. And I feel like, you know, the more that communities are accepting that our individual ness is also our strength in a community, we're going to only grow stronger in communities. And so that's why, at the very least, I know I love like the witchcraft community, because to me, it's always this, you know, accepting place of, I mean, there's definitely spaces that is gatekeeping or an expectation of like a definition, but so many of the people I meet in the day-to-day are so accepting and loving of everyone creating their own path and, you know, making it their own. And we're all growing and learning from each other, while also like everyone's just defining for themselves, like which aspects work for them. And I think that's beautiful. And like, I really think it's the basis of a successful community is to, you know, have that kind of individualism being uplifted while also like not making you be ostracized because of it.
Exactly. I love helping people the way that I do. And it's awful that people do get ostracized for it. And that's why people are so afraid. But one of these days, you're just going to be like, you know what? I don't care what anybody else says. And I'm just going to do me. And then that day, it's like liberating. It really is.
It is.
I can help you get there, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I've even like some of my clients have had their kids read, you know, especially teenagers, because they're going through a lot of different hormones and a lot of different feelings, and, you know, reading their soul cards and guiding them on, you know, different things and keeping their chakras open, and, you know, that helps a lot too.
What's some advice that you would give to maybe a new person waking up or just remembering again?
Set boundaries, ground. Set boundaries by saying what you will and will not do, how you want spirit to come in, how you want to be taught. Like me, I'm a visual learner. So spirit knew in order to get to me, I asked them if they can, you know, send me to things. So they would send me to movies and TV shows and podcasts and YouTube channels and a lot of the TikTok, or, you know, like psychics on there, or, you know, just different things to open me up. And seeing the signs, you know, it can be overwhelming, but even if you start seeing a bunch of different numbers coming through like all at once, as long as you get one of those numbers, that's all that matters. Spirit's just trying to get your attention. As long as you read one, you know what I mean? They're just going to keep throwing them at you, but just until you get like that one message that they want you to hear. You know, so don't think like you have to read, like if you're seeing like 10 license plates, or, you know, you keep looking at the clock and you have all these different numbers, you know, don't think you have to get all 10, you know, just one. And trust. As hard as it is, just trust and practice.
I think that's the hardest one.
Yeah.
It is the hardest one.
Yeah.
So-
I know for me, I'm glad that you said that, because I know for me, when I was going through that the first time, it does kind of put you like in this, oh, if I don't get it, I'm going to miss it, and then it's going to be gone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not true. Like it will just, it's not going to ever be gone.
Right.
You know? So I'm glad that you said that, because I do think that a lot of people, especially if it's their first time going through something like that, it can really put you into kind of like a panic. First of all, you're like, what the hell is going on? But then also once you start to catch on what's going on, you're like, oh my God, it's happening so fast. And if I don't keep up with it, then it's going to all go away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like people don't even realize it sometimes. Like you said, you could be gravitating towards a certain fruit or a certain vegetable that you've been eating a lot of, or all of a sudden you're eating a lot of salads. Well, guess what? Your heart chakra is needing some work, because you know, what we eat helps our chakras too. So it's like, it's all behind the scenes. So you don't even realize it.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Totally.
spirits just wants you to awaken you more. And I think the best thing to do too is automatic writing. That's another good one.
Can you tell people what that means?
You just get a pen, pencil, and just notebook. Just hold the pen loosely, clear your mind, and just start doodling and see what happens, see what flows. And then you'll just start writing, and then a lot of the times you'll get your message.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep.
I haven't done automatic writing in that sense, but I have done like the morning pages practice.
Mm-hmm.
And that helped me because I'm I'm so bad at getting out of my head that like just kind of writing down those first messages that came to my mind and just like letting myself get interrupted, I feel like was what helped me start to get to the point of like where I could possibly do automatic writing.
Yeah.
Was like I practiced my morning pages of just like letting information flow from me to a paper without caring what it says or what it looks like. And then that's when I was like, oh, I'm like one step away from automatic writing in letting information that's not just in my head come out, kind of thing. So
that's another thing too, is that you can get confused, when you keep all that energy and people, you don't realize it, and it makes you more confused. So doing the writing helps release that energy, which will then make you clearer.
Mm-hmm. I was just going to say that it like opens up that space, takes all that static out to like clear that channel.
Yeah. I've had to like, I don't want to say I was alone on my journey, because I wasn't, but Spirit has taught me a lot. They've guided me through everything, and I've trusted my intuition. And that's another big thing, is just trust your intuition.
Yeah.
And there's ways, I even, for spirit guides, for instance, like I had a hard time differentiating my higher self or my spirit guides to my thoughts. So I said, all right, my higher self talks in a Southern accent. I said, can you talk in a Southern accent, please, so I can differentiate you and me and you?
I love that.
And then to get to meet my spirit guides and to get stronger with them, I'd say, all right, Spirit, what are we going to wear today? And then they'd pick out the outfit, and whatever color it was, I'm like, all right, I guess if it's green, I'm needing more, in my heart. People need healing in the heart, or, and then you just start talking to them and ask them their names. And then that's when the writing comes in, or if you're clairaudient, and then that comes in. But that's how you can get to know them too. Even if you're not clairaudient yet, you'll be guided. Like, it's literally like, if you're guided to something, I don't think people realize how guided you really are in life until you stop and look. Like that
and relinquish control.
Yes, like that thought in your head that's just constant, like does not stop. But people don't realize it. But guess what? It's guiding you to something that you need.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't even realize it.
Yeah. I think the one that I noticed the most in other people, like if someone, I'll be like, oh, you should really watch the show. It's a great show. And someone will be like, you know what? You're like the third person to tell me that. I'll be like, you have to watch the show then. Like, literally,
what are you waiting for?
There's a message in there somewhere for you.
Yeah, it's true. Like, so, and it's funny. Like, they have me watch all different kinds of shows. Like, when they'd have me watch different witch shows, they'd have me watch different medium shows. They'd have me watch different, like things back, like Atlantis and Egyptian days, and so they had me doing a lot of different research to get to where I am today. So I think another thing I can say mainly is just like, be more open. Really, really open your eyes and your ears. Just really look at your surroundings. People are so this nowadays. It's like they don't stop to really see what's around them. And tech is good, yes, but it's also not that good, because it takes away from, people actually observing their surroundings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's so funny. I saw I think it was an Instagram reel, it might have been on TikTok, of this guy that like caught a like wood fae on camera. And everyone's like, oh, that's CGI, that's fake, whatever. You can believe what you want. But what it made me think inside was like, I wonder if like all of these creatures are becoming more brave to come out, because they're realizing that like, we're not paying attention. Walking down the street, 2 out of 100 people are going to look up.
Yeah.
And 2 people aren't going to notice anyway. And I was like, oh, it's so fascinating. So now every time I'm outside, I'm like, I'm gonna find you.
You better not be stepping into no fairy circles, ma'am.
Yeah.
No. Just from afar. Just wanna-
Yeah. I'm reading the Encyclopedia of Fairies right now. It's so good.
Oh, that's awesome. You know, they say
Yeah.
if you put pollen on your lids, you'll be able to see fairies. I read it in one of my fairy books.
Put what on?
Huh.
Pollen. If you
Pollen.
take pollen from flowers and you rub it on
Oh.
your eyelids. But unfortunately, I have allergies, so I'm gonna fight
Yeah,
that.
I was saying I would have kept my eyes well shut before I saw
Yeah.
anything. but-
Fairies probably designed that on purpose. We all have allergies
Fairies-
to pollen.
Yeah, and fairies love honey and milk. I usually leave a little bit of honey on one of the pine trees out back in my yard, and sometimes I'll leave them like a little like shot glass like this of milk because they love milk and honey.
Oh, love it.
They also like thyme too.
Talking about the clairs always makes me think like there are so many different ways to interpret those things too, where you said that like people almost are kind of missing things. It can easily be because they're not paying attention, like you're saying as well, Kat. But it also, I think a lot of it is people expect a grand facade. Like they want to hear that audible voice when it's like your clairaudience might just be a song on the radio that says a phrase that's like, oh, I should call my mom, you know, and those are how your messages are coming through. So it can be seamless parts of our environment that are bringing those messages like, oh, I've seen 5 orange cars today, you know, or something like that, like that's clairvoyance, right? Or like letters start to pop out at you and it's like, oh yeah, that's a form of clairvoyance. You're not going to, you know, some people are going to see like a person stand there and tell them something where like you might just notice some numbers that are starting to stick out. Like they almost look like they're glowing to you, or a word. It looks like it's like jumping off of a page. And I think that because I think there are some people who are just living that way, not recognizing that that's how they're getting their intuitive hits.
Yeah.
I know that as someone who is also claircognizant, like as one of my biggest clairs, I was following the voice in my head thinking that it's like, oh, these are my thoughts. And then I'd be like, it's kind of weird how my thoughts would know that like that company was going to lay people off, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, maybe there is something more. And then when I learned what claircognizance was, I was like, oh my gosh, like that explains so much of why, you know, I was like, huh, she's kind of smart. I don't think that's me. Like, this is definitely information that I don't possess, but is appearing in my brain.
Yeah.
And so it was, yeah, once I learned about it, I was like, oh my gosh, like I need to develop this.
I don't know.
But like I said before too, like you can bring it in as quickly or as slowly as you want to with your own expectations and at your pace. You know, you just need to let them know. Like the first thing, like you feel the energies, like I would do, like I would sense feeling different energies. Like I would pick one spirit guide to work with, and then I would ask to feel their energy, and then talk to them a little bit, get to know them, and then, you know, I keep going until I felt like the different energies. Then like I have so many people on the other side. Like I have more family on the other side than I do here. So I also worked a lot with them, like my grandmother, my mom, my dad, my grandmother, my aunt, like, and then the different energies of spirit guides, and like Leo, he's my lion. He's one of my spirit guides. I can always feel his paw on my shoulder when I call him or he's around. Like I feel like a heaviness on my paw. I mean, on my shoulder from his paw.
So
1333, as I said that.
Dude, threes have been coming up for me nonstop.
Yeah, your angel, your ascended masters are with you. They're trying to open you up.
I was just gonna ask, is there any like last things that you like want to say to everybody, or anything that you want to share? I don't know. Parting words. Parting wisdom.
I just wish everybody much happiness, and joy on their spiritual journey. I know it's not the easiest, especially the dark night of the soul, but it is so rewarding at the end. The way you feel just free and without judgment and just enlightened. I wish for everyone to get there. And if they want help, you can find me at evolving8energy.com for readings, energy healings. I can help you.
Do you do social medias?
I do. I haven't. Spirit hasn't guided me recently. I don't think I've been on there in like 7-8 months because they have me doing other stuff. So, I'm gonna start doing that again. I've been guided to do it around the moons. So, I'm not gonna be like the typical every single day reading that people do. I'm pretty much gonna go like either around like the full moon, or if they said like if someone needs to really hear something, that they're gonna put me on. They're gonna have me say a message. But I've been doing more of the way I get through to people is word of mouth and in person, whether it's at the grocery store or a client or, you know, on video.
Yeah.
No matter how far you're away, I can still pick up your energy. See that? Crazy.
Yeah.
But I couldn't. But you couldn't see anything. But you're all the way over there, and I'm all the way on the East Coast. It's amazing how energy works.
Absolutely.
It does. I always try to tell people about distance healing and like, how does that work? And like, it's like the internet. Like you just like Google and a face and a name and you can pick up energy. It's kind of the same.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like radio waves.
Yeah.
Like I'm sending radio waves, so just sending them back to me.
I love that. Well, I'm definitely going to be contacting you for a session as we have to talk.
All right.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love it. I loved meeting you, and you just had so much to share. And I love kind of the witch outlook, because I feel like sometimes people who see themselves as healers don't necessarily accept like kind of that witch aspect of things. And so I really appreciated that, you know, duality and the balance of, you know, which isn't bad. You can like, witches are healers too.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that.
Absolutely. You know, and it shouldn't be looked upon as bad. Like you said, you know, it's healing. So
Totally.
you want to name me something else instead of a witch because I use herbs, but there's a lot of things that you can do. You know, when you're not going to cook anymore.
Just stop putting spices in your food.
Maybe that's why people's food's so boring. Try to take our spices away.
They're trying to distance themselves from a stereotype.
We only use salt and pepper. Yes, that's magic too.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I'd love to help. You know, come on. I could talk about anything. I could talk about crystals. I could talk about candle magic. I could talk about herbs and spices. I can talk about how, you know, to strengthen your gifts or how to even embrace your gifts, you know.
Yeah.
I try to teach as much as I can to get people more awakened to their higher self. So anything I can do to help is what I'm here for. It's my purpose.
Awesome.
It's my mission in life, and I choose to accept it.
Yay.
Oh yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. And
Well,
like,
thank you.
This was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's amazing of you to come and share with us. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for joining the All podcast.
To find out more, you can find us online at academyoflogicandlight.org or on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at Academy of Logic and Light.
If you live in the Salt Lake Valley, we'd love to see you at one of our upcoming events.
And don't forget to support our growth by joining our Patreon. Until next time, lead with logic and light.